Welcome back, everybody, to the Breakthrough Moment podcast, where we interview successful entrepreneurs and investors and ask them what is their biggest breakthrough moment that took them into another level of success. And as they share these breakthroughs with us at home can have breakthroughs as well. My name is Zach Dean. Today's special guest is Kyle Rutledge. Are you there, Kyle?
Yep, I'm here. Thanks, Zach, for having me.
Excellent. I'm so excited for this. The more I get to know you and learn about you, man, I'm just like, wow, like this is going to be a really powerful podcast all around marketing and advertising and things like this. So let me do a quick little intro for you and let's dive into your breakthrough moment. So for
Awesome.
those of you who don't know Kyle, he spent over a decade in marketing. He's including 5 years at disruptive advertising, and he was ranked the top digital marketing agency in the US from 2021 to 2024, where he was named the top strategist in 2023 and managed millions in paid media, monthly paid media. So after he founded Radari, his company, one of his first clients was IBC Global. You guys have probably heard of Alex Hormozi at acquisition.com. And he still works with them today. Kyle's also best known for his lead quality approach, wiring CRM and offline sales data back into Google and Meta, so campaigns optimize for actual revenue and pipeline, not cheap form fields. Bit of a mouthful. That was a tongue twister. But you're a family man. You're over in the US,
Yeah.
and it's very cold there. So I'm very excited to interview you. Thank you so much for your time. Let's just jump straight into it. What has been the biggest breakthrough moment in your career thus far?
Yeah. So this breakthrough moment goes back a handful of years. This is, I want to say 2021 or 2022, something like that. But um, it actually, the biggest breakthrough career moment happened on a personal level with, my wife and my family at home. It actually involved quitting playing video games, which, like, you don't hear that too often, but, like, for me, I'm kind of like a hyper obsessive type personality. So if I'm involved with something, if I'm interested in something, I kind of go all in on it, right? It's what I eat, sleep, and breathe, and it's what I think about all day. And for a few years of my life, that started to become video games, and it was kind of taking over my life. And um, you know, with some gentle nudges from my wife, I could see the writing on the wall of, like, this isn't helping my life progress at all. And then I kind of just had this breakthrough moment through the pains and struggles that was causing in my life of, like, I need to make a change here. Like, if I keep going down this path, I'm probably not going to end up with a wife. I'm not going to keep my wife for too much longer. I'm going to have a broken family because we already had 2 kids at that point. And I'm gonna spend all this time on video games to have this really not super useful skill set in the real world, and a really cool digital account that, on this game that will probably be irrelevant in 10 years. So I'm like, it would be really cool if I could take this same drive and focus and energy, dedicate it towards my career, and that's ultimately what I decided to do. I want to say like 4 or 5 years ago. And that's made all the difference.
100%. Yeah, I didn't know that, I always leave the breakthrough moment uh, to be a surprise for me. And I don't want to know all the breakthrough moments. So this is so interesting. Like, I actually grew up when I was younger playing computer games, specifically World of Warcraft. I used to play 16 hours a day. I was hooked. It was like, I don't know if you've ever seen that South Park episode with
Yeah.
on World of Warcraft. So I was that, like, in
Yep.
my garage, like locked in my room. Like, I would skip. Friends would come over on the weekends, and I'd be like, "Guys, I'm not going to the beach. I'm raiding. I'm with my online
Yeah.
friends." And I ended up doing so well with it that I sold my account for like $850 cash to someone, and I was like, "Oh wow, this is." So that was when I was like 17, maybe 18, part of the beginning of being an entrepreneur, I guess. So, but I'm curious to know what game did you play, and then how did you make that switch? Like, what was that exact moment that you went, no?
Yeah. Well, when you say that, you know, in your teenage years playing World of Warcraft, the game I played back in the day when I was in high school was RuneScape. Um, any World of Warcraft player probably is familiar with RuneScape as well, but we played that a lot with me and my friends in high school. And then I kind of had a similar moment. I could have sold my account for a similar dollar figure, actually. I just chose not to, but stopped playing for a number of years. And then they rebooted an old version of the game called Old School RuneScape. And then like years later, my friends and I were like, hey, like let's for nostalgia, let's get back into this and play a little bit. And that little bit turned into a lot of bit. And then that's what I kind of fell back into for a while. Um but yeah, that was the game of choice. And um anyways, yeah,
Yeah, it is. It's literally an addiction, right? Because it's
it
such a
is.
it's a reality that's so real because we live in this like mental, like our brain and our mindset's so powerful. So if we can take ourselves into another world, it was for me an escape. You know, growing up, my kind of addictions were food as an escape, and then also computer games from whatever stress I was going through, kind of growing up. But I think that I remember watching a documentary and talking about people that play games have a super high level of problem solving. So, do you think the skills that you learn in computer gaming you've transferred now into business and have helped you?
Oh yeah, yeah. A ton of skills that I feel like I learned from video games, and I'll never look back on it and say like I didn't enjoy it. You know, like it was a fun time, it was a blast, and I do know I learned a lot of skills from like problem solving to like one of the things that I learned is like, hey, the more I learn about this, the better I'm actually able to play in the game. So like I would get really deep into like learning more about the game because then it helped me achieve more in the game. And you know, that's something that I directly applied to my career and my work now. I also learned a lot about like one of the main methods I used to make money in the game was buying low, selling high. You know, the whole idea of flipping and economies and all of that. So there's a lot to learn from video games. It's just for me, like even going into marketing, I'm like, there's so many cognitive biases that keep you addicted. And it's like, yeah, it's easy satisfaction, it's high reward, low effort, it's an escape from reality and the stresses of life. And there's like, I've spent all this time, energy, and sometimes money uh, developing this character and this skill set to be good at this game. And am I just going to walk away from that? It's that loss aversion. So there's all of these cognitive biases that keep us trapped in that. And so learning about that and learning one of my favorite books is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Learning about all of these habits and the science behind it actually helped me get through that. So it's kind of like a mini passion of mine. In the future, I may create some materials on like how to help other people get through that phase.
Perfect. While we're on it, what advice would you give, say, the entrepreneur out there who's gaming, or professional out there who's gaming, or I guess adult out there who's gaming, who wants to break the habit? They know that if they allocated that energy and time and brain power to their business, that or family or health, that they'd make a breakthrough in their own life. What advice do you have for other people that might be gaming that want to make a change?
Yeah, you have to hit a point where it's like emotionally, it it impacts you so much that like, hey, you need to just make a change in your life, right? So one concept that I like is like everybody has their own version of a rock bottom. With any addiction, like there's a rock bottom moment. For some people on drugs and serious, like even more serious addictions, that can mean losing everything in their life, all their finances and house and everything like that. For me, I didn't get nearly at that far, but for me it was like I could forward pace and figure out like, let me just play this out in my mind. What's going to happen in 5, 10 years if I continue down this line? And for me, that wasn't a future that I wanted for myself. And so just taking some time and thinking through that was what gave me the emotional drive and energy and just motivation to start making a change. And then when emotion is the highest, that's when you want to make the most changes. So like it can be simple things like change your environment. If your game of choice is on Xbox, unplug the Xbox, go put it in the top of your closet, you know? But just that next time you have the desire to go play Xbox, it's going to be in the top of your closet. It's not going to be plugged in, ready to go. And just that little amount of additional friction is going to make it easier for you to choose something else. And I'd say the first 30 days are the hardest. Once you get past the like a 90-day, 100-day type frame, your mind will kind of have had a reset and you'll start finding pleasure in the simple things again. Find pleasure in reading a book, or you'll find pleasure in sitting in the company of your friends without gaming, without pulling out your phone and pulling up that app or social media or using something to distract you. And so, if you can do a 100-day challenge free of video games and any high dopamine inducing like social media or whatever, you will see a significant increase in your happiness and joy in your life, independent of what you want to do with that additional time that you're gaining.
A quick pause before we continue. Hey, everybody, please, if you're enjoying this podcast, if it's allowing you to think differently and have your own breakthrough moment too, please subscribe. Please like this video, share it with somebody else, and even comment below. I'd love to know what has been your biggest breakthrough moment listening to today. I read all the comments, and your responses help me shape the future of this podcast so other people can have breakthroughs too. All right, let's get back to it. Totally. It's a lot of time that's put into that. I wonder, is there like, I know there's AA or NA or like, these communities or groups to help people with addicts. Are they like gaming anonymous, addicts anonymous? Is that a thing? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, but I know that there are some like Reddit threads and things like that, but reading through that, there's a lot of people that are like, it's the spouse, it's the mom, it's the significant other that's worried about that person. And sometimes it can be kind of like they're all just grouping together and talking about how much video games are evil and how they should be banned completely from the face of the earth and things like that. So it's kind of extreme on that front. I know that there are some church groups and communities and stuff that have some gaming specific programs, but I haven't seen something like as known as AA or some of these other like even like pornography addiction type recovery stuff. Like that seems more common than gaming addiction um,
What you
programs.
shared there is like just do a challenge, 100 days, a low dopamine kind of challenge. Really be aware that everything, this world that we live in is filled with convenience and just instant gratification, whether it's food ordered or gaming or whatever's on our phone, or even just light. From my understanding with biology, being in sunlight increases that dopamine. And so if when I was younger, I would be at nighttime on these games, and the only light that was in the room was my computer screen. So my body was addicted, dopamine wise, just to this bright light. And we're just biologically created. So when we have light in our bodies, around our bodies, we get, we feel happier. It's just part of how God made us. And so if we're utilizing our happiness and dopamine while we're at nighttime with all these lights and things like that, it became, it was a hook that it was hard to break. But the biggest thing for me that helped me get out of like the nighttime working or gaming and things like that was starting to see the sunrise, because that set up my whole day where I would go to bed earlier and then wake up earlier, and all the benefits of seeing the sun in the morning and all the things like that. That was a massive game change for me because yeah. Every time I meet someone who's a gamer, I'm like, "Oh my God, like, what about this? What about that?" It's such a fun, like, thing to reminisce on and quite nostalgic, but, I kinda see life as a bit of a game now. How did you make that transition from going like, if you could sell your account for hundreds of dollars, you were obviously very good. So how did you transfer that into a business and what did you do next?
Yeah, I didn't try and like I said, the first time I did try and sell my account, the second time I didn't try and sell my account. I actually just gave it to some of my friends. It's like, hey, I have all this stuff, like all these items, whatever, have fun. Yeah. But the big lesson, I guess there were two big lessons that I learned from it is like, one, the more I learn about something, the better I'll be able to uh, like just have success in general. Right. And so it's kind of like, I kind of gained this appreciation for uh, learning and acquisition of knowledge. And that's actually, this is forward pacing a little bit, but that's actually the concept that I opened my business name around. So Gradari comes from the Latin root of gradus, which is all about like gradus is like taking a step up a grade, right? So like it's moving forward and upward and always progressing. So like that's kind of how I've evolved in my life is like I always want to be growing and progressing in some form or fashion. It doesn't have to be my career. It could be personally, professionally, financially, whatever. Um, and then I also just learned through video games the impact of like slow, steady progression. Because like for anybody who has played RuneScape, it's kind of like a grinding game. You kind of just have to put in the hours. But I realized it's like, hey, I have this goal to, level up this skill to a certain level. And I could just reverse engineer it. It's like, oh, like if I do this task for this many hours, like I'll get the skill, I'll get the goal that I was looking for. And life doesn't always work that way. But, I just kind of learned through repetition, like if I put in the effort, I'll achieve the reward at the end of the path. Right. Um, Yeah. So those are some of the lessons I learned. How I applied that is first it was like I'm gonna just, you know, put a little bit more effort into my job. And then personally, I was always just hopping from one topic to the next, learning about personal finance, and then learning about real estate investing, and then learning about business acquisitions, and then learning about just business ownership in general. And that this path is what eventually led to me starting my own business.
What point? Because I think a lot of people get stuck in the learning and the learning and the learning, and it's like, I'm just learning, I'm just going to learn. And
Yeah.
they're so highly educated on things, but then they don't start. So how did you make that jump?
Yeah. What I would do is like I would get into these cycles of like I'd probably put in like 400 or 500 hours learning a specific topic, like podcasts, YouTube videos, books, whatever I could. And so like the first one was personal finance. So like listen to a lot of Dave Ramsey, a lot of other financial gurus on like or not LinkedIn, YouTube, and read a lot of books on it. Richest Man in Babylon, type of stuff. And after like that 400 or 500 hours, I would hear the same things coming up and up again from these experts. I would be able to anticipate the answers that they would give to things. And that's kind of when I would move on to my next topic. But what I wish I would have done, well, depending on what you're learning about, I wish I would have at that point stopped and just applied, move forward, have confidence that I know enough. And like I also didn't need to invest so much time into something. Right. And so, um, you mentioned in my introduction, I work with one of Alex Hormozi's portfolio companies, IPC Global. I was huge into Alex Hormozi, right? And I still am. I'm a huge fan of his. And I listened to probably 400 or 500 podcast episodes of his. And it got to the point where it's like, he's telling a story. I kind of know what he's going to say, you know, because he's repeated his stuff so many times. And at that point, it's like, okay, I just need to start taking more action. And so I intentionally stopped consuming as much and started spending that time focusing on like, what action am I actually going to take at this point?
There's a big distinction, and I think it got to a point for me where I was watching everything on Tony Robbins and like psychology and then health and wellness and just diving deep down the rabbit hole and all these different, and the business that I had at the time was network marketing. So I had a lot of residual income. So I had so much time and I was like, I'm just going to keep learning. This is brilliant. But then it kind of gets to a point where you're like, okay, if I just implemented, if I put half of that time into implementing. Like, where would my life be if I actually did that? And it's kind of forward pacing, like what you did before, which was like future pacing the pain of if you keep playing computer games for the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Like, I used to do that with the people I used to spend a lot of time with growing up, partying and going out, all the things. And I just thought, if I keep spending time with these people, I'm going to be in the same place in 10 years. I'm going to be this amount, I'll be this old. And I don't want to be that old hanging out with these people. I think forward thinking and forecasting, having that vision is really, an away from motivator. And then, yeah, similarly going, okay, if I could actually implement this, I could create this business and create this lifestyle. It's so powerful, right? Our mind is so, so powerful. So
Yeah.
what would be, if you've dived into so much knowledge around marketing, what would be the biggest mistake and like the biggest tip you could give on marketing for entrepreneurs, businesses out there today? If you have a business on Facebook or Instagram, you need to learn about this new amazing AI automation tool. The question is your personal profile or business profile manually messaging your target audience every single day? If not, I highly recommend you do this. There's a massive ROI on that. But if you are, there's a more cost-effective strategy. So this is a unique AI software. It runs for you your friend requests, the messages, the likes, even the comments 24/7 in the cloud. So while you're watching podcasts like this or taking calls or while you're sleeping, it's running there in the background. Some of these people are pulling in another 5 to 20 extra qualified leads every single week on autopilot. You can experience the podcast special trial and try it for yourself today. Check it out in the show notes below.
I, f- I feel like with marketing, well, marketing in general is also so broad, you know? So, like there's so many aspects of marketing where I am specifically, I feel like the most qualified is in the advertising side of marketing and specifically on the lead generation aspect, right? That's what I've built my business around. It's lead generation, ads. Um, every once in a while we'll get someone coming in asking if we could do some e-commerce work for them, and I have some great partners I can refer out to, right? So in general, generalized marketing, I feel like people don't understand and don't focus enough on like, who am I actually trying to talk to? Like they don't think enough about their core audience and their core ICP, right? And who am I talking to? What pain are they experiencing? What dreams, desires, and goals do they have? What stage of awareness? Like Eugene Schwartz had this book, Breakthrough Marketing, and he introduced the 5 stages of awareness. Um, so many marketers have talked about it since, but like the 5 stages of awareness are like it's a very powerful frame to think through in terms of like, are they even aware that they have a problem? They may be unaware that they even have a problem, right? Or they might be aware that they have the problem, but don't know that there are solutions out there, or that there are solutions, but don't know what the solutions are, right? Or maybe they know what the solutions are, but at a high level, or like they've tried them out before. And at a basic level, those are the five stages. And that impacts everything, right? What you talk about, how you talk about it, what's on your landing page, how long your landing page is, and just it impacts everything. So in general, I don't feel like people think about that enough. And that's kind of the broad marketing question. My specific skill set, lead generation, advertising, that piece that you talked about in the introduction, optimizing towards leads that are qualified is kind of the big piece that like I've looked over this last year and a half ish at over 120 ad accounts for lead generation. Only one had a system set up where they were optimizing towards qualified leads. Everybody else was optimizing towards leads, or sometimes didn't even have lead tracking set up. And it's like, there are capabilities that we have to optimize towards a more qualified audience, a more qualified set of individuals. It is a little bit more of a complex setup, but it's super worth it, because without it, you're you're optimizing for the cheapest lead. And as you start scaling up, the system is going to find, hey, this bucket of leads is actually the cheapest, right? But why is it the cheapest? It's because they're the most unqualified. They're the spam, the bots, the type of leads you don't want to have. So the more you scale up and the more you optimize towards cheap leads, actually that's like, I call it the reverse optimization trap. You're optimizing towards the leads that you don't want to get, right? And so implementing some sort of system where you can optimize towards a qualified buyer, somebody that's progressing through your sales cycle, you're going to actually start informing the platform the type of person you do want to target, and it's going to optimize towards the right type of person. And you're going to actually see business outcomes from your ads as you're scaling.
Interesting. I've just looked up the 5 stages. It's unaware. Is this them? Unaware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, and most aware. So can you just give a little bit of context on that in terms of what is that, like the customer journey?
Yeah. Anytime somebody purchases a product, whether they know it or not, they've been on this journey, right? They're purchasing something because they have some sort of pain or they want some sort of resolution to something, whether that's, education or not education, but like entertainment. The pain that they experience is boredom, right? So it's like, I always use my agency as the example, right? Somebody, they want to grow their business, but they don't know how. They just know they want a bigger business, right? Like that's probably like, well, that's problem aware actually. Unaware might be like they want more money, or yeah. I'm trying to think like what the unaware stage would be for like my marketing agency, and it's even sometimes hard to think about it. But like, I'll give a different example. My silly example. My wife, sometimes when she yawns, her jaw will pop, right? And it's like, we never thought anything about it. We didn't realize that was a problem, unaware. Until one day we were driving down the road, and there was this, it's not a chiropractor clinic, it's something slightly different, but they just had a billboard and it said, your jaw should not be popping, right? And it's like, hey, we didn't realize that was an issue. We were totally unaware. But now we're aware that that's a problem, right? We don't know we kind of know what the solution is because they're advertising for it. So like, go see them. But like, we don't really know what the solution is. So we're problem aware now, but yeah, we're not solution aware. Like, what is the solution? I don't know. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. It's taking the decision making. It's unpacking the decision making process from start to finish type thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, yeah. Where are these people at in their journey? So unaware. Now they are problem aware. And then it's like, okay, I'm problem aware. And then they may start to search out solutions. They may be somewhat aware of a solution, but that's how they get from problem aware to solution aware, is just they search out or find out about some sort of solution. And it's not saying like, this is the exact thing that I'm going for, because that's probably most aware or product aware, right? Solution aware is, I know that there is a possible solution, right? And then as they start researching, they start building their consideration set. It's like, hey, there's like maybe 3 to 5 different solutions, right? That's solution aware or product aware. Like, these different products can all solve this solution. And then the most aware is like, I've researched these enough, so it's like I'm set on one, but maybe I just don't have the money for it, or maybe it's not the right time, or something like that. Or another way to think about most aware, that's where somebody's most aware, right? They've kind of set on one solution. The other way of thinking about most aware is like, maybe like in my case, maybe they've tried a marketing agency for lead generation in the past and it didn't work, but they're very, very aware of how it goes. the ins and outs of the industry, that's also most aware.
Yeah, that's good to sit back and as you're talking, I'm just thinking about some of the businesses I'm in and understanding each process so you can really get into their world. Just quickly before we continue, if you're an entrepreneur out there or a high performer who wants more clarity and direction in life, or maybe you're going through some kind of turbulent transitional phase, I want to share with you something that I co-built. It's called the Life Blueprint System. It's an AI powered goal setting process that helps you create a personalized life blueprint, kind of like an architectural plan or a business plan, but for your life. And so it allows you to take and capture those big ideas, those amazing thoughts you have, and to turn it into a proven plan of action. And so if you want to stop guessing and start building your future intentionally and consciously, go to the lifeblueprint.io to learn more. Let's go back to the episode and lead them in a specific way towards a specific outcome, solution, sale. So I'm really curious, you're on the cutting edge of marketing and you've been through so much and connected with some amazing clients. How are you using AI right now? It's changing the game, it's speeding things up, it's creating also some problems. So how are you personally using AI, like personally, but also in business for marketing?
Yeah. Personally, I'm trying to just keep my LLMs updated as much as possible with like how we work, how we do things. So with all of our clients on like the social platforms, we kind of walk through these types of um we'll walk through a few different types of ad tests, right? So when we bring on a client, we're going to test out what are the pain points that your audience resonates with, right? There's a lot of different ways that we can talk about what we do, our products and services, and a lot of pain points that we can solve for. What's the one, if we could choose one of these 10 pain points we solve, what do people resonate with the most, right? And then the next step is like, okay, we have this pain point. Where are people at in their awareness journey, these 5 stages of awareness? So each stage of awareness, the way you communicate with them changes. And so we'll do a test that is very specific to, if they're unaware, your best bet is to message them with some sort of curiosity piquing type of message, right? And each stage of awareness has its own type of message format that works with it. And so we'll run through a set of tests that tests and tries to figure out what stage of awareness your audience is in, right? And so we have 2, 3, 4 types of tests that we run with clients. And at the end of it, the pain point, the stage of awareness they're at, the value proposition, how to communicate with them, not just in the advertising, but in your organic social media, in your landing pages. Like, a lot more information of what the message type and how to communicate with your audience that's going to help them through the whole journey. Um, and we use AI a lot for that in terms of we teach it on our systems and processes, and then we'll use it. We'll get the client's business information and tone and all of that, and then we'll use it to help us create all those different ad tests. So like for our purposes, that's one of the 2 big ways that we've been using AI. But before I go to the second thing, is there any thoughts you had on that? Any questions you had
Yeah,
on
no,
that?
that's really interesting. I like how, this is making a lot of sense in terms of, what you said before, finding out the avatar, figuring out the pain points, and then figuring out what stage of the journey they're at and communicating and testing and measuring which one lands. Is that, is that what you do through? Yeah. And then advertising, paid advertising, you can really A/B test and figure out results
Yeah.
fast. Hey. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Correct. Like on that, for example, I just did it for my own business. I'm going through these steps for myself. I just finished the stage of awareness test, and it was really insightful because my audience of who resonates with me, they resonate a lot with the product aware stage. So they're aware of the product, not aware of all the different solutions as much. It's still pretty strong there, but they really also identified strongly with an identity type frame. So it's like, you're the marketer who, right? You're the type of person that, like that type of messaging really resonated with my audience. And so I know that in my future ad variations, that's going to be the leading message. And then there are some other pieces and components that I'll thread into kind of the meat of the ad, which is more about the mechanism, more about all this other stuff. So that's how I'm using it for my business.
Makes sense.
Um, and then the other thing is I have a few clients that are really heavy on they get leads from phone calls, right? So what I've done with a number of my clients now is, and not every client gets phone calls or wants to accept phone calls. So this is just kind of when it's applicable, but we'll use AI to transcribe all the call recordings. And then based on the call recording transcript, we'll have AI assess it and apply a tag. And there's lots of different call outcomes that we have these tags, but they all bucket into one of three categories. One is this is the wrong type of caller. The second is this is the right type of person that we want to talk to, but they didn't progress. And then third is this is the right type of person and they did progress to the next step. So 3 buckets. Buckets 2 and 3, those qualified individuals, we're going to pipe back over to the ad platform and report back to the ad platform and say, hey, get us more callers like this, right? And we'll also differentiate the value of those callers. The ones that progressed, those have 2 to 3 times the value of the callers that it's the right person. We want to optimize towards them, but it's not as valuable because they didn't progress. And so in that way, we've been able to optimize towards qualified phone callers, not just anybody who's willing to call the phone number, right?
Super interesting. Super interesting. You know, that's one of the next rocks I want to figure out is paid advertising, but I'm focusing on just the organic marketing for some of the businesses that I use. And it's like, do you recommend people should nail the organic messaging, say through social media or through their current network, or maybe, yeah, before spending money into ads? Is that going to save them a bit of money and time later on, or maybe it's good to just to jump into ads and figure it out with an expert straight away? Pause before we continue. The first way we as entrepreneurs introduce ourselves when we walk into a room, it's our energy, right? People feel that. And secondly, it's our face. How healthy do we look? So for the entrepreneurs out there who care about how they show up, I'd love to share with you personally. I've been utilizing some Korean skincare products now just for over a month, and I had no idea about them up until, even just 2 months ago. But it's by far one of the best investments I've made for my skin. I feel it's literally making me look younger, and it has this like glassy, super fresh look. And so this is the number one exported Korean beauty brand and skincare line in the world. The ingredients are second to none. Even pregnant women can utilize them, because out there's so many products that have toxins in them that really make our face not healthy over a long period of time. And so if you're out there and you want to match the energy that you output with how healthy you look, you can trial these products risk-free for 30 days. If you don't like them, send them back and get all your money back. If you're out there, if you're curious, check out the link below to learn. Let's get back to the episode.
It depends kind of on 2 major factors, in my opinion. One is like, do you have more time than money? You know? And so if you have more time than money, uh, I'd prefer the organic route. Like if you don't have to spend the money, you could do all of the same ad tests that I was running that I kind of talked about there. You can do that through organic social media, and you can just post out a bunch of content, and each piece of content is specifically focused on one type of variable. And then you see what resonates with the audience, right? Like if you learn that like, hey, this worked really well while this other variable didn't, then it's like, hey, you can learn that same thing through ads, or you can learn it through social media organically. And like, it's your audience just the same, right? The other variable is just how much revenue does your business have, right? I personally don't think that it makes a ton of sense to hire an agency until you're at like $1 million in revenue. Because if you're at like even my business, like we're not at $1 million in revenue, but I can put in some ad dollars to it because I don't have to pay for the management fee of it because that's just my labor, right? Because I have that skill set. So I just talked with a potential client yesterday, and he was telling me like, hey, I can't really afford your fees right now. And I was like, yeah, like it makes sense if you can't pay my fees and at least double my fees in ad spend, you should probably just, you know, take an hour or two long course and like figure out how to run it by yourself. The inefficiencies that you will experience by running it yourself, you will more than make up by having double the budget to spend into the ads. Does that make sense? Right?
So yeah, this is it's important. It's important. So how like people out there, right? They're going to be listening right now. How can people get in touch with you? Who do you help the most? You know, who should from who's listening, who should get in touch with you and at least have a chat and a bit of discussion?
Yeah. Like I said, I work mostly with, well, almost exclusively with lead generation. Any business looking to generate leads, doing over $1 million a year in revenue. Because at that $1 million in revenue, if you're investing the roughly what's recommended 8% into marketing, you should be able to afford my services plus a good amount into the ad spend, right? I have focused a little bit more on the B2B and SaaS side of it, just because these systems and processes that I implement really, really help on the B2B and SaaS side. There's a lot of marketing agencies that don't really want to work with those clients because it's really hard and they don't have these systems and processes and they struggle to find results. But with this type of systems and processes, it optimizing towards qualified leads, I should say, it's really being impactful. And I do have a new tactic that I'm beta testing right now that will specifically help a lot with B2B, like small and medium sized advertisers in the B2B and SaaS space. That's really where I'm focusing a lot of time and effort. But if you're direct to consumer, if you're home services, professional services, we do all of that as well. These systems help just as much.
New tactics. That's exciting. Can you share anything?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Happy to share. So this came about a month ago. And are you familiar with softwares like RB2B or Warmly? They're these sites that de-anonymize site visitors. Have you heard of this?
Is that like when you go onto a website that it tracks your IP or something, and then you can actually market to them just from them visiting? It's one of those. Oh wow. Yeah, I've heard about this.
It's
It's
it
great.
Yeah, so those types of softwares, they're very common in the B2B space, and they're used frequently by sales development teams. And so it's like, hey, somebody came to the site and it's going to check their IP, reference these databases, and it's going to say, hey, can we identify the individual or the company, at least the company that they're from, and say, is this company that they're from an ICP? Like, are they the ideal client profile? And if they are, then they enrich that contact and send that contact into their CRM. And the concept is these sales development reps, how I would do this if I were in their shoes, I wouldn't say, like, it's not a perfect match. So I wouldn't send an email and say, hey, Zach, I saw that you were on my site. Like, do you have any questions? Like, that's big brother type stuff. And it might not have even been you. It might have been the CFO when you're the head of marketing or whatever. And so what I recommend to these companies to do is to go in and start to just do their organic direct outreach, but into that company in like hey, it's a standard message, but you're sending it to a slightly warmer audience because somebody from that company has been on your site recently. So that's how these softwares are being used right now, but that's not what I'm utilizing it for. What I'm noticing is like, hey, as somebody clicks from a Google account or a Facebook ad, when they come to your site, they have a tracking identifier. It's called a Google Click ID or a Facebook Click ID. Most of these ad platforms have a tracking identifier, and that's in your URL string. And so I'm like, wait, if this software can identify, hey, this is an ICP site visitor, why don't we pull that unique tracking identifier, send it back to Google or Facebook, and tell the platform, hey, this was an ICP site visitor. And so then you're not waiting on a form submission. You're not waiting on the sales team to qualify them to get that information back to the platform. And you can get a much larger volume of data and insights to the ad platform. And then you'll be able to get a lot more optimized with Google saying, or Meta saying, focus on this type of persona. Because if I can get all of my audience to look like this person, my ads are going to, kill it. Right. And so that's what I'm experimenting with some clients right now.
So what you're saying, what I think I hear you saying is that there's this software or this ability to figure out who comes to your website, but then instead of just trying to manually then market to them, maybe add them on LinkedIn, send them an email, things like this, you send that data back to Google or Meta to then retarget with your ads to bring in more of those style of people. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It's not a true retargeting. It's not like, hey, hit this person again with more ads, but it's teaching the AI and machine learning of the ad platform to say, hey, focus on more people like this because this is ideal. This is perfect, right? And so then it's going to optimize towards more people like that in the future, right? And I would be able to see that as an ad buyer as well. I'd be able to see that and optimize manually towards it as well.
Super cool. So, marketing is like very heady. It's very like logical. It's stats, facts, figures, a lot of techie AI things now, which is awesome. It's not my field, but guys out there, connect with Kyle. I'll put his link somewhere around this video podcast. My final question to you is, if you were to challenge the audience today, this week, this month, this year, on anything to help them have their own breakthrough, maybe a breakthrough in marketing or a breakthrough in advertising and things like that. What would be the challenge you'd like? You set people the challenge of like 100 days of no gaming for dopamine, but would you challenge the audience in a certain way to help them with their marketing?
Yeah. Um, I guess it's kind of the same thing for, personal breakthroughs with marketing, with whatever, with whatever. It's like, take the time to sit back and think and actually like process through like, what do you actually want to achieve? What is your goal? Um, and like with what you're doing right now, are you realistically going to get there? Right. And if you're not, then like this is what, there's a book that just came out this last year. It's called The Science of Scaling, right? And it's like, hey, you need to set this crazy high goal, right? And basically what the premise of the book is like, as you set this really high goal, uh all of the noise is going to drop out. Because if there's this like 10x goal of whatever you think, it's the same authors from 10x is easier than 2x, right? And the idea being like, if you have this 10x goal, there's probably only one or two ways that you'll actually be able to achieve that. And so anything that's not that is noise. It's it, like, there's the one signal, the rest is noise. And so figure out what that one goal is. What's the one thing that's going to help you achieve it, and get after it.
Amazing. People, yeah, a few people have been talking about this concept, yeah, signal versus noise, um, and just locking in on that bigger vision, and anything else that's noise, deleting that from from their lifestyle. So that's super cool. Guys, please follow Kyle. I'll put all of his links all around here. Reach out to him if you're needing to take your business to the next level regarding marketing and ads, but specifically qualified leads through some of these cool little hacks that he's learned. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. Any final comments?
No, I'd love to connect with anybody. I'm very active on LinkedIn, so that would be a great channel as well.
Excellent. Appreciate it. If you're at home, who do you know who would benefit from this podcast? Who's trying to have a breakthrough with their marketing? Please share this with them. Please like this podcast as well. And please comment, what was your aha moment? What was your breakthrough from today's podcast? Thank you guys so much. And we'll see you next time. Cheers, Kyle.
Cheers.